Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason McIntyre here with LeVar Arrington and Rick Bucher. Marcellus Wiley and Emmanuel Acho are off today. We're going to keep it moving, starting in the Bay Area. The 49ers season opener is in a couple weeks, but we still don't know who the starting quarterback will be. Kyle Shanahan said his decision is about the QB that gives the team the best chance to win, but he did add he's always had a pretty good idea on his starter. Jimmy Garoppolo, well, he had his own thoughts. Take a listen.
It's whatever he decides, yeah. I have a pretty good idea. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now and everything, and just the offense as a whole. But yeah, Kyle's the head man. He'll make the call.
All right, LeVar Arrington, you expect Trey Lance to take Jimmy G's job this season?
I expect Trey Lance to settle in to the 49ers starting quarterback position this season. I do believe it will happen, but when it will happen, well, I think that a lot will play into that. Listen, there's the overstated, driven home point of Jimmy Garoppolo staying healthy. That's what everybody wants to talk about with Jimmy Garoppolo. Can he stay healthy? He doesn't stay healthy. But when he is healthy, he wins. And when he isn't healthy, they lose. There's one interesting piece of information here. Kyle Shanahan, he's been winning with San Francisco 49ers when he has Jimmy Garoppolo. He is, a very, very impressive 22-8 under Kyle Shanahan with Jimmy Garoppolo starting. With all others, J-Mac, Rick Bucher, measly 7-27. Oh, wow. Why would we get so far removed from the greatness of the relationship between Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan and their ability to win? Sure, we can talk about the injuries, but as this season gets underway, you're talking about a team that has had to overcome injuries, not just to Jimmy Garoppolo, to other guys, Bosa, Debo Samuels. There have been injuries on this team. So there are a lot of guys coming back off of injuries. There are a lot of reasons why they are considered to be a contender to go back to the playoffs and possibly contend for the NFC West. And Jimmy Garoppolo is a part of that equation. If you take him out, then maybe, just maybe, that losing record that Kyle Shanahan has without Jimmy Garoppolo rears its ugly face back at the 49ers fans, looks at Kyle Shanahan in the face and says, why'd you do this? It's premature. You got trade value in Jimmy Garoppolo. You have built-in equity value with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in as the incumbent starter. He will be the starter. However, there is the idea that maybe Trey Lance might have to make that move into the starting position based upon injury concerns, injuries happening, necessity, so to speak. So I do think that they will continue to work Trey Lance into the mix, situationally speaking, and how it goes, wins and losses, effectiveness at the position, frustration or lack thereof, satisfaction, contentment by the head coach will dictate if Trey Lance gets more and more as the season goes on. But if I'm a betting man, I would predict that something is going to happen during the course of this season that would lead to Trey Lance getting his opportunity to be the starter for this team.
Where and how Kyle Shanahan lost his confidence in Jimmy Garoppolo, I cannot answer. I just know that he has. He doesn't move up to get Trey Lance if that hadn't happened. And so, yes, I do believe that Trey Lance is going to take Jimmy G's job this season because I've seen this movie before, and I've actually seen it in 49ers uniforms. It was just different actors in the main roles. Instead of Jimmy G and Trey Lance, I saw it with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. It's not that Alex Smith did anything wrong. He was 6-2-1 when they made the move to Colin Kaepernick. The big error that he made is that he came up short on the biggest stage. on the NFC or in the NFC Championship. Jimmy G suffered the same in losing in the Super Bowl and not being able to make the big play that turned things around. So much like Jim Harbaugh saw in Colin Kaepernick an it factor and ability to make that big play that wins the big game, the same can be said for what Kyle Shanahan clearly sees in Trey Lance. And he knows he's going to need that sooner rather than later. And Jimmy G, even though he came back last year and played, he doesn't always win. He was 3-3 last year. So if there was ever any opportunity for him to demonstrate that, yeah, you know what, I learned my lesson from the disappointment in the Super Bowl. I can be a different quarterback. He didn't show it to Kyle Shanahan. And as a result, Shanahan made the move to Trey Lance. And I just don't see a way in which he's not going to pull the trigger on that any more than Jim Harbaugh waited in spite of whatever Alex Smith did.
Wow. This is all sorts of insanity. Let me just try to understand what you two are saying here. Trey Lance will start this season. They're going to take a guy who is 21 years old, all right? He did not play college football last year except for one game. He's basically played one real football game in 19 months. You're going to insert him as the starting quarterback on a team with very good Super Bowl odds. I happen to have been in Vegas last weekend, put some shekels on the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. So you got a Super Bowl team. You got the shell of a team. You got a great coach. And you're going to put a 21-year-old quarterback in at starter? Folks, there's no chance Trey Lance is starting in the first half of the season. And I will wager that he will not start a game this season unless Garoppolo's hurt. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, as LeVar said, 22-8 as a starter. If you guys have looked at the schedule for the Niners, it is the easiest schedule in the NFL when you look at the opponent win totals. They open against the two worst teams in the NFC, Detroit and Philadelphia. Okay? They're going to steamroll both those teams. They're bigger than a touchdown favorite on the road in both those games. Jimmy Garoppolo, let me just remind you guys, he did not lose the Super Bowl. You know, Rick, you can go on and say he didn't make the big play. Listen, he did not lose the Super Bowl. He gave his defense, an awesome defense, a 10-point lead with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They ran out of gas, and then Pat Mahomes tore him apart. Okay? Jimmy Garoppolo, let's remind everybody, did not lose the Super Bowl. He can win a Super Bowl with the 49ers. Okay? He's got the team, and this whole 3-3 last year, Rick Bucher, you're better than that, okay? Did they have George Kittle? Did they have Deebo Samuel? Where was the entire defensive line? We are this Jimmy Garoppolo slander from both gentlemen here. Basically, everybody across the country is a little bit harsh, okay? They had nobody last year.
J-Mac, it does not matter how you think they lost the Super Bowl. All it matters is how Kyle Shanahan thought they lost the Super Bowl. And quite clearly, Kyle Shanahan thought they lost the Super Bowl because Jimmy G wasn't a good enough quarterback. Otherwise, there is no reason to spend all the assets that they did in order to move up to get Trey Lance, a guy who, to your point, the only thing he has going for him in the eyes of Shanahan is the fact that he has that it factor, that big play makeability. And you can say that, hey, he hasn't played over the last year or played one game in North Dakota State. But the fact is, he's given glimpses in this preseason of everything we expected, in spite of the fact that he's only played one real game over
Rick,
the last year.
He's taken 6 sacks in 2 preseason games. He looks like a deer in headlights because Kyle Shanahan's giving him all the chances to win this job. All the starting reps in practice, first team, and he's terrible in the preseason. He is afraid to make the plays. He's a young kid. He's taken 6 sacks in 2 games. The guy's holding onto the ball. He's afraid right now.
Kyle Shanahan has told you exactly what he was looking for, which is, I know he's going to make mistakes. I want to see how he recovers from those mistakes. And indeed, 1 for 5, starts out 1 for 5, throws a pick, and then turns around and leads them to 2 touchdowns. That's exactly what he wanted to see, and that's exactly what he doesn't feel he has from Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy Garoppolo makes mistakes. And then he gets cautious or tentative as a result. Kyle Shanahan knows that does not work. And now I understand why you're pushing this so hard, J-Mac, but I have to question the bet that you made with the assumption that Jimmy G is going to win the bet for you. The last time we saw Jimmy G in a Super Bowl, He was losing. The 49ers were losing. You're betting they're going to win with the same quarterback? You should hope that they make the move to Trey Lance, because that's the only hope that you have of realizing your bet.
Think about this, guys. I think this is a more simplified conversation than what is being made. First of all, I did not slander Jimmy Garoppolo. I gave him his propers. And I do believe that there will be some reason why Jimmy Garoppolo ends up not being the starting quarterback for this team. I think a lot of it has to do with the development of Trey Lance, which goes to your point, Mac. I think you also got to take into consideration that Jimmy Garoppolo, for what it's worth, his only drawback, in my humble estimation, that is glaring, is his health. Like, some people think he hasn't made the throws. Whether we want to debate the Super Bowl or not, at one point in time, the Super Bowl, the eventual Super Bowl champions had to overcome a 10-point deficit, that's two possessions if you count them. So however you fall on that, it is what it is. But Jimmy Garoppolo is the person that was at quarterback that got them there. Jimmy Garoppolo is still going to end up being the starting quarterback. By all information, seemingly, he's going to be that guy. There's a reason why he's starting. You know, if Trey Lance was truly that guy that was going to unseat Jimmy Garoppolo based upon what he was capable of doing as a player, then he would be no different than Zach Wilson. He'd be no different than Trevor Lawrence. He would be in the situation that those guys are in. You know why? Because he got drafted right up there with those guys. In fact, he went before Zach Wilson. So it's a very simple conversation. If Trey Lance isn't starting right now, it's because Trey Lance isn't ready to start right now. And you have to keep it to that point. There's another main point that goes into this that's very important that you should know. November 2nd, that's a very important date. November 2nd represents Week 8. That's going out of Week 8. That is the trade deadline in the National Football League. If we see Trey Lance and his situational plays, if we see him play well, if we see Jimmy Garoppolo play well, but not looking as though he is a world beater and all of the criticisms that are lobbed his way intensified by this coach and coaching staff, then look for something to possibly happen before Week 8, before that November 2nd deal, where we all know there's the possibilities in Dallas. There are the possibilities in other places where there may be a quarterback that is needed of the caliber that Jimmy Garoppolo is, where you can get a tremendous trade value for him going there. So there's also the value of what Jimmy Garoppolo brings to your team in terms of the value that you could receive by dealing him if Trey Lance truly is that guy that can step in and be the starter.
So LeVar made a good point. He said, not ready. I just want to remind you, Rick, I know Super Bowl is the goal for the Niners, okay? The youngest quarterbacks to ever start a Super Bowl were 23 years old, Ben Roethlisberger and Dan Marino. You know what they had in common? They were 3-year starters in college football. 3 years. Trey Lance started 1 season in Podunk, North Dakota, okay? He's not facing All-Americans like Dan Marino. No disrespect to North Dakota State. But Again,
well, he's not.
Ben Roethlisberger and Dan Marino were NFL ready when they came in. They could take a team at 23 to the Super Bowl. Trey Lance is 21 years old, Rick. You're not winning a Super Bowl with a 21-year-old starting quarterback. That's just a fact in the NFL. Jared Goff got there at 24. Patrick Mahomes, I believe, at 24 as well. 21 is, this kid is wet behind the ears. He's not ready to win a Super Bowl. He's not ready to start Week 1, even against the lowly Detroit Lions.
I'm not suggesting that he should start Week 1. In fact, it makes a whole lot of sense for Kyle Shanahan in the scenario that LeVar pointed that he would play Jimmy Garoppolo now because they are going to play weaker opponents. And you know who's going to look really good?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo is going to look really good. So that when it comes to November 8th or any time before that, when Trey Lance is taken over as a starting quarterback, they can then flip Jimmy Garoppolo for more than they possibly would get if they benched him and nobody had seen him since he was 3-3 last year. So they're only increasing his value. And J-Mac, I'm not here to debate with you whether Trey Lance is going to lead them to a Super Bowl or not. This is not my decision. I'm just telling you that looking at what Kyle Shanahan has done and the way that he's talked about Trey Lance, he plans on playing Trey Lance. He believes that Trey Lance is the quarterback that is going to take him where he wants to go. I will say it again. Alex Smith did nothing to lose the job. I heard this exact same argument about Colin Kaepernick. Why are we going to him? Why are we replacing Alex Smith? It's disrespectful. He deserves more. It doesn't matter. Jim Harbaugh had it in his mind that Colin Kaepernick had the goods to get him where he wanted to go. And did they win the Super Bowl? No. But they did get a step closer than what Alex Smith was able to do. Kyle Shanahan looks to be doing the same thing. Was Jimmy Garoppolo instrumental in getting them to the Super Bowl? Yes, absolutely was. Did we win the Super Bowl? No, we didn't. So I think I have a quarterback who can take us that last step. Whether he's right or wrong is beside the point with what we're debating, which is he going to pull the trigger on his decision? And I damn well expect that he will.
I can't imagine the Niners 7-2 start and then they bench or trade Garoppolo for Trey Lance.
6-2-1 with Alex Smith, and they pulled the trigger. 6-2-1. What's the difference between that and 7-2?
Baker Mayfield may have to wait for his big extension. We'll tell you if he's the long-term answer for the Browns next on Speak for Yourself.
Baker Mayfield, he's set for year 4 in his NFL career, and he's eligible for a big payday. But a report says there's a strong chance he could enter the season without a deal. But they added Baker could have leverage if he plays well this season. So, Rick, has Baker proven he has long-term answers to be the answer for the Cleveland Browns?
No, he has not, and the Browns know it. And again, gentlemen, I feel like I've seen this movie before. Just a different team and a different actor. A team near and dear to your heart, Mr. LeVar Arrington. And that would be the Washington football team and one Kirk Cousins. The Browns are playing this the same way the Washington football team did with Cousins. Let's just slow play it. Let's kick it down the road. We really like him, but we need to see a little bit more. We need to see a little bit more. And along the way, what they discovered was that their quarterback was as good as the team that they put him around him, that they put around him. If the team wasn't good, he wasn't very good. If the team was healthy and put together, then he was pretty good. And while that makes him a functional quarterback, it doesn't make him a break-the-bank type quarterback. So this is all about whether, and it's really not a matter of Baker Mayfield proving that he's a franchise quarterback. It's pretty clear at this point that he is not. But can he be a functional quarterback with the Cleveland Browns as they build this dynamic team? And is he willing, most important, to take the kind of contract that would be reflective of a guy who is part of a championship team, but not the central piece of a championship team? That ultimately is going to determine whether Baker Mayfield is the long-term answer for the Cleveland Browns. And right now, it does not appear that the Browns are convinced that they need to give him any sort of long-term contract. They need to see more before they determine exactly how big that contract should be. So, is he the long-term solution? He might be, but he hasn't proved it to this point, and the way the Browns are handling him is proof positive.
Man, I don't know what Rick has against these middling quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield. Like, you don't want any of these guys.
Because they're middling quarterbacks. That's what I have against them.
Here's the fact of the matter,
quarterbacks.
This is the fact of the matter. This front office, this coach did not draft Baker Mayfield. But yes, he is the answer. Baker is on his third coach, okay? This is fourth year. First year, Hugh Jackson, he put up good numbers. Hugh Jackson, we know what happened with him. Second year, he had Freddie Kitchens, Freddie Bathrooms, whatever you guys want to call him. He was awful. He's done. Now you get a real coach in Kevin Stefanski. And what does Baker Mayfield produce in his first year with a real coach? Top 10 quarterback in completions over 20 yards. Deep passes, Baker Mayfield was incredible, okay? You look at play action, Baker Mayfield was one of the best quarterbacks in the league statistically. 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. The run to set up the pass, And that's without Odell Beckham for half the season. Pro Football Focus graded out Baker Mayfield as the 10th best quarterback in the league last year. 10th, okay? There are 37 guys qualified and started enough games. Baker was 10th. So yes, he is showing franchise quarterback ability. The reason I don't like the Kirk Cousins comparison, he was like a 4th-round pick, wasn't he? Okay? Baker Mayfield went 1 overall. Baker Mayfield has shown the potential to be a major franchise
Tom
quarterback.
Brady?
He was outstanding last year when it mattered. Remember, the Browns had not made the playoffs in a decade. The Browns' last playoff win, I believe it was last century, Rick. You got to turn back to like 1995 when Belichick was there. Baker Mayfield's bringing this franchise to new places. Obviously, the head coach was instrumental. The run game was phenomenal. But this team, LeVar, is really setting up. And I'm not going overboard here, but I reminded you guys I was in Vegas last weekend. I have some money on Baker to win the MVP. The odds have come my way. If you look at the Cleveland Browns schedule, Rick, they have one of the easiest schedule of defenses they will face this year, okay? They are really in a prime position to win 11, 12 games, maybe win one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC. And we know historically, if you want to be the MVP, you got to be one of the top 2 seeds. Listen, I'm just saying what the numbers say. The numbers say Baker Mayfield was excellent last year, and his upward trajectory is like the stock market right now. It's through the roof.
Listen, Baker Mayfield has not proven that he's the long-term solution to this team just yet. But I'm not saying that. I say that with the caveat of I'm not saying he isn't the long-term answer. I think that he has to prove more and show that he is that guy. And I think that Cleveland believes that as well. And that's why he hasn't received a new contract, an extension, whatever it may be. So when you think about Baker Mayfield, he has a tremendous second half to the season by my account, and looked as though he took a large step forward in terms of being in the conversation of if he is going in the direction of being a franchise quarterback. Has he transitioned into being called a franchise quarterback? Not just yet. I would not give him that. In fact, it's interesting. Take away the win total, which you could attribute a stout defensive front and a strong running attack that led to the resurgence of this Cleveland Browns team this past season. Baker Mayfield is comparable. Let me show you something. Let's go to this screen. Now, this is interesting because Gardner Minshew, we talked about draft statuses. Well, he went 178 in the 2019 draft, while Baker went number 1. Now, Baker Mayfield is considered to be a superstar quarterback that, is in the conversation of betting on himself to get a franchise contract, while Gardner Minshew is sitting behind the newly named starter and a number 1 draft pick in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence. And half of the games played, 46 games to Gardner Minshew's 23. Their statistical categories, as you can see on this full screen, are almost identical in percentage. So when you think about adding up the totals, if you go and you make it 46 games for Gardner Minshew to 46 games with Baker Mayfield, they're probably the same percentages. You have the same guy. Are we looking at Gardner Minshew as a potential long-term answer for the Jacksonville Jaguars? We're not. It's a very different situation, and I get that, but in a lot of ways, it's not. You have 2 quality guys, but one has the ability to leverage the fact that he was a number 1 draft pick. That's really what sets him apart in these conversations. That cannot be the reason why you get a long-term extension in the National Football League. It can be a leverage point if you're playing well, but it cannot be the sole reason as to why you get that big next contract coming out of your rookie contract. In fact, the reason why rookie contracts are now slotted is because of this very thing. You will not come into the league and get a major blockbuster deal coming out of college because, we don't know if you're going to outperform a guy that goes 178th in the draft. So you got to prove it on your rookie contract. Baker Mayfield took a strong step forward in proving that he should be in the conversation. But Baker Mayfield has to have a great season this year to solidify, A, being discussed as being really a franchise quarterback, and B, do you pay him as a franchise quarterback? Hype can only take you so far. And right now, he's got to double down on having a strong end of his season last year.
Jeez. I got, you guys know the emoji with the head exploding? That's what I was doing looking at that graphic. Listen, that was a well-built argument, but it's total balderdash. Toss that out the window. LeVar, come on. Listen, 2 years ago, he had Hugh Jackson as a coach. They were like feuding on the sideline. Last year, you know, Freddie Kitchens was basically a bartender somehow being a head coach in the NFL. And again, it was a nightmare. Don't compare those first 2 years that Baker had. Look at last year. What have you done for me lately? Baker Mayfield last year was phenomenal. Top 10 quarterback in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. Not me. The stats, the numbers say Baker is on the upward trajectory. Meanwhile, Gardner Minshew, are the Jaguars, is Urban Meyer getting hit over the head with trade offers for Gardner Minshew?
Maybe.
Listen, you guys are way too low on Baker Mayfield and the Browns here. And now Rick's going to come over the top and hammer me because that's what he wants to do. But I'm just telling you guys, like, Odell Beckham is one of the, I don't know, top 15 receivers in the league. Some would say top 10.
He's got some proven.
He does have some stuff to prove. They're basically adding that to an offense that was a juggernaut last year. They were awesome in the second half of the season, as you said. They have the best 1-2 running back combo. Offensive line that's probably looking at a top 7, 8 in the league. Like, things are really shaping up well for Baker. I'm trying to, skate where the puck is going, not where it has been. And I know it's been ugly for Baker in the past, but forget about the past. Look to the future.
That's even more reason, J-Mac. Not to jump on you, Rick, but that's even more reason for there to be pressure on Baker Mayfield to produce. He's got a top 5. I wouldn't say top 7. Matter of fact, I might go as far as to say it's them and the Colts that have the most elite offensive fronts in the game. You have 2 elite running backs in your backfield. You have 2 elite receivers. You have 2 elite tight ends. So there's even more reason for his numbers not to be comparable, even if you had excuses of using coaches from the past. The bottom line here for me is that Baker Mayfield has every single thing a quarterback could ever want, need, wish for. Here's my Christmas list, guys. I need an offensive line that's a top-ranked offensive line. Hey, I need a running game that can keep the pressure off of me and so that I have time to throw the ball. Play action fakes will work. I can move out of the pocket because I'm a little mobile. Can you guys deliver that for me? Whoa, I need some receivers that are uncoverable, that run really good routes and, well, could be considered one of the greats or greats, plural, in the league. It's even more reason, J-Mac, for you to sit there and put the pressure on Baker Mayfield and say, if you are not unquestionably the answer to this team, if you are not unquestionably a franchise guy with this type of talent, then it should be very easy to come to a conclusion and say, if you can't produce with this group, then there's no reason for me to think that I can bring you in here and you can produce here. And there's definitely no reason for me to give you a contract that would reward you not being an elite guy with all the elite talent around you.
J-Mac, I'm not coming over the top to hammer you. I actually am looking for an invitation to go to Vegas with you because your bets are entertaining as hell, brother. And I would be trying to convince you not to throw your money away there, and let's use it and have a good time. Because
that's right.
Why waste it on some of these picks? Baker Mayfield is an MVP. Right. You must have got some great odds on that, brother. That's the only explanation I have for that. So I have a question for you. Is if Baker Mayfield is indeed the long-term answer, and he proved last season that he's made this meteoric rise, and he's only going to continue, and he's going to be MVP this year. Wouldn't it make sense for the Cleveland Browns to at least offer him a contract now to get him at this price before he becomes MVP, rather than wait and then giving him an extension at MVP prices? They have not done that. There's nothing on the table, Rick, for him to refuse.
That's a great point.
So it suggests to me that they're not buying just yet that he's the quarterback that you think he is. And by the way, that Pro Football Focus ranking, okay, he was 10th. Matt Ryan was 9th. Matt Stafford was 11th. Like, he's in the land of quarterbacks that we're not quite sure what to make of at this point in their careers. And I'd go to Sporting News that also had a ranking, and they had Baker Mayfield as 13th, behind both Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. If you're the quarterback of the future for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, you damn well better be the best quarterback in the division. And as of right now, that categorically cannot be said about Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, listen, I hope I didn't make it sound like Baker Mayfield's the best quarterback in the league.
Did.
He's not without flaws,
You did.
obviously.
Well,
I
he said he's going to be MVP.
You did gas him up.
Bet on it.
Betting on him to win MVP at odds that were favorable, they've now come my way. That being said, Baker did cut his interceptions last year. He cut his sacks. He still needs to improve under pressure. 4 interceptions under pressure, one of the worst numbers in the league. We know the book on Baker, but as LeVar said, the offensive line is there. I hope I'm not getting Cleveland fans too excited, but this Browns team is absolutely loaded. I had Daniel Jeremiah on my podcast. He said this is one of the 5 best rosters in the NFL. And again, I know you mentioned quarterbacks. Why haven't they offered that huge deal? Josh Allen got the Bills to the AFC title game. They backed up the Brinks and handed it to Josh Allen, who was, he was like 3rd in MVP voting. I think he finished 4th. He was up there. If you lowball Baker now based on what he was 2 years ago, Gardner Minshew numbers, then he's going to be like, no, and it gets ugly. You don't want to offer him the world because, as you guys have said, he has not quite given you the world. So you're in that weird middle ground. Baker's going to get paid, but I think we know this is a run-first team. They are, the play action is how this team operates. I think Baker will get big money. I don't know if he'll get Dak Prescott money. LeVar, you think he deserves Dak Prescott money? What is Dak Prescott?
Did Dak Prescott deserve Dak Prescott money?
I don't think so.
I don't know that it matters
the
at
market,
this point.
yeah.
It's just who's up. Who's up when they're up. And speaking of who's up when they're up, quarterbacks coming up. We'll tell you if Russell Wilson Seahawks are legit Super Bowl contenders. Next on Speak for Yourself.
All of Russell Wilson's issues with the Seahawks appear to be in the rearview mirror. Seattle has a new offensive coordinator, and Russ sounds extremely positive heading into the season. Let's take a listen.
I feel better than ever. I've been working my tail off. My mind's more clear than ever. We feel very confident in what we can do, and I feel more confident in myself more than ever. I've always felt like, hand me the ball and let's go to work, and let's play ball.
So, Jason, are Russell Wilson Seahawks legit Super Bowl contenders?
I love Russell Wilson. I get compared to him a lot. People put the picture of me and Russ next to each other and laugh.
I see that.
You do see it.
I do.
No, Seattle is not a legit Super Bowl contender. Folks, again, we've been talking a lot about gambling in this show. Listen, they have the 3rd best odds in their division to win the Super Bowl. Division. Rams and 49ers have better odds to win the Super Bowl. Listen, this is a Seattle franchise right now that's kind of in flux. Okay, you really have to dig into this to find it, but can you believe Seattle has 1 playoff win in the last 4 years? That's it. They haven't been to an NFC title game since 2014. So it's near the end of the great run that Russ has had in Seattle. I don't like betting against Russ because he's such a talented quarterback, and he's got awesome receivers, DK Metcalf, obviously. I love what they did with the offensive coordinator, right? So the Rams have just been destroying Seattle. They've won 6 of 8 from Seattle. So what do the Seahawks do? Let's go steal their passing game coordinator to become ROC. Smart move, right? You can't beat them. You bring them on your team. And I think Seattle's offense will hum. But, LeVar, you're a defensive guy. I just keep looking at this Seattle defense. I'm like, playmakers. Jamal Adams. Okay, Bobby Wagner. And I don't see what else there is. And this is a division with Kyler Murray, Jimmy Garoppolo, like Matt Stafford.
Did you lead off with
I had
Kyler
Trey
Murray?
Lance.
Kyler Murray. I'm a Kyler Murray guy.
You hanging out with the height challenge guy. You
stop
holding him
it.
down.
I like Cliff Kingsbury.
Russ is short too, though. Now, come on.
So no, Seattle is not a legit Super Bowl contender. Hopefully, they'll make the playoffs, though.
The interesting thing about this is conventional wisdom says to say, no, they're not a Super Bowl contender. But I believe that having Russell Wilson on your team gives you an opportunity to win and win at a high level and at a rapid clip. They won last year and made it to the playoffs. Now, to say Super Bowl, here's how I'll respond to this, all right? Their total offense last year ranked 17th. That ain't going to win you no Super Bowl. Their net yards per play, they rank 12th. That ain't going to win you no Super Bowls. Their passing offense. Now, this is the one that'll really, shock you because it's like they got Tyler Lockett, they got DK Metcalf, and you got Dangerous Russ. Whew. You want to hear it? 16th in passing offense. That ain't going to win you no Super Bowl. You want to get worse? Third down percentages. Will we all agree? The one down you have to be able to win is that third down. You got to win third down on offense. In fact, on defense, which we're going to get to, you got to win on third downs. Third down percentage, they ranked 20th. You ain't going to win no Super Bowl with that. Let's move over to the defense side of the ball before I turn this one over to you, because this is a hot biscuit right here, because you put butter on it, starts melting and all that good stuff, and even though it'd be good for the biscuit, it ain't good for the Seahawks. Their total defense, 22nd. Are we getting the theme here? You ain't going to win no Super Bowl with a 22nd ranked defense. Scoring D, because if your offense is going to rank 17th in total offense, then that means your defense had better be, top 5 so that you have a chance? Your scoring defense, 15th. Whew. If you can't put points on the board, J-Mac, Rick Bucher, I say, do you have to stop the pass at least? They are rated 31st defense against the pass. You ain't gonna win no Super Bowl ranked 31st against the pass if you're with your defense like that. So while I will say, for some strange reason, even with those horrible sounding stats, they're still a competitive team. I just don't think when you get into the games with an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady and possibly a Matthew Stafford and possibly a Kyler Murray, you ain't gonna win them games against them type teams. You got it, Rick. They a contender, but how much of a contender? I don't think too much of a contender.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with any of those numbers or those rankings, LeVar, and yet in spite of all those rankings, they were the best team and arguably the toughest division in football.
Did win it. They did win it.
So I have to take that into context. I also have to take into context the fact that they changed up how they were playing offensively midway through the season. I would love to know where they were ranked offensively at the halfway point when Russell Wilson was wheeling and dealing, and then they got conservative in the second half of the season, and it changed a lot of what they were doing, and particularly their passing offense, how effective it was. It's one of the reasons why they changed up offensive coordinators, because Russell Wilson wanted the opportunity to show what he did in the first half, the entire half. And we can debate whether that's the way to go and whether Russell Wilson being an MVP candidate and being able to pursue that is the best way for the Seattle Seahawks to chase a Super Bowl. But when I look at who's standing in their way, you mentioned 2 teams, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. It used to be 3. We had the New Orleans Saints there that were a contender as well. That, in the post-Drew Brees era, is wait and see in terms of actually what Jameis Winston is going to be able to do. With Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, I would assume that everything's going to be fine and he's going to come back. And we saw it last year. There was already issues and he had an MVP performance. So Green Bay Packers may very well be exactly what they were last year, which was essentially better than the Seattle Seahawks. But there is that question of where Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are, and if things don't go well, how that might upset their apple cart. And then with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, without question, prohibitive favorites to come out of the NFC. But they are built on a 44-year-old quarterback. And if Tom Brady goes down, then that changes everything, no matter how much talent the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have elsewhere, because who's their next quarterback? Blaine Gabbert? I mean, where are they going after Tom Brady to make that thing continue to go in the right direction? So because of that, I will say that the Seahawks do need some other opponents to fall down or go sideways. But we've seen that happen before. And if it does, I have every reason to believe that the Seahawks are capable of walking through that door if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers open it for them.
You know, when we do the show, Rick, sometimes I think LeVar calls you. Are you the great qualifier, or is that someone else? Because I got to say, that's a lot of ifs for Seattle to be a Super Bowl contender. I just need to point this out. I mentioned earlier.
He's the deflector.
Deflector. Okay, maybe that's Broussard.
Broussard is the qualifier.
Seattle has one playoff win in the last 4 years, and that win was when Carson Wentz got hurt in the first quarter. Remember, he banged his head on the turf, and they brought in like 41-year-old Josh McCown.
How many wins did Tampa Bay have?
That's their only playoff win.
How many playoff wins did Tampa Bay have?
One playoff win in the last 4 years. Basically, your team gets weaker defensively, and now you're all of a sudden in the mix. Like, they've got to leapfrog so many teams just to get there. And I do want to remind people, the playoff game last year against the Rams started their backup quarterback. Remember, Goff was injured, then Goff had to come in for the backup. Like, this is just not that good of a Seattle team. And this push and pull you guys talked about with, yes, Russ was cooking the first 7 weeks.
He was.
And then they ran into Buffalo. You guys remember that game? Russ kind of had a tough one. I think he had a pick six, 2 other turnovers. And all of a sudden they said, whoa.
Yeah.
Brian Schottenheimer, former Jets OC, is like, we got to hand the ball off. And it was just a disaster. So Pete Carroll, who I believe is like 73, is really going to have a tug of war with Russ over what the team is this year. And when you get into that topic, and remember, Russ, 4 months ago was asking for trade options, like, I don't see this team as a Super Bowl contender.
Here we go. Since 2013, 2014, over the last 6 seasons, the Seahawks have lost in the divisional round 3 times. Lost in the wild card round twice, including 2020, and missed the playoffs once. That's the last 6 seasons. So the point that I just made, while they did win the NFC West, they did end up on top, to your point, Rick. You are correct. The deflecting of it, of making them that, because they did earn it, the deflection of it really doesn't take you away from the ultimate point here, which is all of those deficiencies that I pointed out in their rankings show up in the playoffs. And I think that's the point that J-Mac is making. And I think it makes it hard to get on board and get behind saying that this team is legitimately going to push for a Super Bowl berth when these are the stats, these are the rankings and ratings of what you need to have very, very high. And when I say very high ratings, meaning you need to be top 5, at least top 10 in most of these statistical categories that they're not even close to being top 10 in. So to me, unless something dramatically happened when they got rid of Schottenheimer, and this offense is going to have a rebirth of sorts when they come into the season, if playing Jamal Adams is going to make him more of a world beater, which I believe he had 9 sacks as a safety, which is freaking amazing. That is tremendously amazing, maybe unheard of. I don't know that I've ever heard of a safety as productive in getting sacks and being as active as Adams was in his last season there. So to me, if something dramatically doesn't change from that, there's no reason to think that they're going to change their spots all of a sudden and show us something totally different than what they have been. This is kind of the DNA of what this team is.
Can I just take one shot at Jamal Adams real quick? You said he had 9 sacks. You know, Julian Edelman retired from football. He had 3 catches of over 20 yards all of last season. Somebody sent me this on Instagram. All 3 catches were in coverage where Jamal Adams was guarding him. Jamal Adams could not guard Rick Bucher in an out pattern right now. I mean, he can't guard anybody, LeVar. That's just a fact of the matter. He's great in the box, but he cannot play in coverage. That's a fact.
Pass defense, 31st. I'm not debating debuker. I'm not debukering this point. They are 31st in pass defense. But Jamal Adams can play some defense, and that is true. Maybe he don't cover that well, but he can get to that quarterback using the way you need to, using wisely, because you just paid him.
Okay, they were all those things last year, and we're talking about whether they are legit title contenders this year. And the funniest part of this for me, J-Mac, is that you point up that Russell Wilson had issues with the franchise and that could be an issue why they're not title contenders this year. And we're just going to gloss over the fact that Aaron Rodgers had much bigger issues with the Green Bay Packers. And that's one of the teams standing between them and being legit.
I have not mentioned the Packers.
That's a good point, Rick.
Yeah, we might have them tomorrow. Now the producers are here.
If we're going to go to soap operas, it looks to me like Russell Wilson has resolved his issues with the Seahawks because they made the change that he asked for. And the Green Bay Packers made none of those changes for Aaron Rodgers. So, look, are they a favorite? No. I just look at only 2 teams in the NFC that I would say definitively are ahead of them. And if something happens to those 2 teams, then the path is there for them to get to a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. And the whole idea that the odds say that they're the third. Look, if I remember correctly, going into last year, they were not the favorite to win the division. They weren't supposed to be that good for all the reasons that LeVar pointed out. Like the statistics that they put together were not shocking. That wasn't some amazing turn down by them. They won in spite of that. And one of the big reasons was because of Russell Wilson, who at 32 years old continues to ascend. So if there's one big reason to believe that the Seahawks can overcome everything else, it's because Russell Wilson continues to get better every single year. How much better remains to be seen.
Coming up, Damian Lillard is still in Portland. I mean, jeez, for now. But we'll tell you if he should stay loyal to the Blazers next on Speak For Yourself.
Loyal to the game.
Next Thursday night, the reigning Big Ten champs kick off their season in prime time as number 4 Ohio State takes on Minnesota at 7:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Speaking of college football this Saturday, and Fox Bet Super 6 is giving you a chance to win $5,000 during the Nebraska-Illinois game on Fox. Scan the QR code below, download the app for free, and answer 6 questions about the game for your chance to win.
At 10.
Let's move to the NBA. Damian Lillard and trade rumors have gone hand in hand since the Blazers' playoff exit. Lillard was asked recently on IG Live by fans about his future in Portland and said, quote, "I'm not leaving PDX. Not right now, at least." Come on. Rick Bucher, should Damian Lillard stay loyal to Portland?
Absolutely, yes, he should stay loyal to Portland. Because before you start telling me that he should go and where he should go, you need to tell me what he's guaranteed to get by leaving. Because I can give you something that he's guaranteed to lose should he leave Portland. He's going to lose being the absolute soul of face of the franchise. He's going to lose potentially being a perennial all-star. He's going to lose being a brand that is based on loyalty. That is everything that Damian Lillard stands for. And if he's going to go someplace, presumably he's going to go someplace to win the one thing that he does not have, which is a championship ring. Well, where is he going to go that he is going to be guaranteed that he is going to win a championship ring? The place does not exist. And meanwhile, wherever he goes, they will not love, appreciate, and cherish him the way that Portland and the Trailblazers devote fans do, because he is theirs. He's one of their own. He grew up there as far as a player. He was their pick. Wherever he goes, he suddenly becomes just another guy who is ring chasing. Damian Lillard has established himself in a multitude of ways as one of the best players in the league without ever going to the NBA Finals, with only going to the Western Conference Finals once. So is a ring really going to change his status? And if it is he guaranteed to get it? Because if he isn't, then he just becomes another one of those guys that didn't think that he was good enough to lead a team to a championship, that he had to go someplace else and needed help in order to get it done. And that is not the Damian Lillard brand. And ultimately, that is what he would lose.
That sounds good. And sentimentally speaking, I would agree with you, Rick. Should Damian Lillard stay sentimentally connected to the Portland Trailblazers? I get that if that's the question. Should Dame Lillard stay loyal to Portland? No. Dame Lillard should stay loyal to Dame Lillard.
Yes.
Dame Lillard needs to do. Dame Dollars, check out the Hulu commercial. Shouts out to Hulu. Like, Dame Dollars, cash. What? You chasing the bag is what you chasing. Ring chasing is a part of it. Chasing all NBA is a part of it. Chasing Hall of Fame is a part of it. Dame Lillard does not lose that if he leaves Portland. To say that Dame Lillard loses his brilliance and his greatness due to location is to diminish what Dame Lillard is. A cold-hearted killer on that hardwood court. That's what Dame Lillard is. And when I think about this, I think about another guy, a few guys that really came to mind that I was like, you know what? They were loyal to their team. They was loyal to the soil and stayed there and kept balling. I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to get my game on. One of my favorite players ever. And it kind of in a lot of ways reminds me of like how a Dame Lillard is, loyal, tough, about his business, go to work. Kevin Garnett. Everybody was looking at KG like, get out of there, please. Go somewhere where you can win. KG ain't want to do it. He wanted to make it right in Minnesota. He wanted to make them boys. Just like we're talking about Dame Lillard. And you know what? For all the KGs and the Ray Allens that decide to leave and go somewhere else, for the LeBron Jameses that leave and the Chris Boshes that leave and decide to go somewhere else and the Paul Pierces that leave and decide to go somewhere else, there are a whole bunch of dudes that stayed, and they stayed so long, Karl Malone and John Stockton and Gary Payton. They stayed so long trying to win it and being loyal that by the time they realize, I gotta go try to win a ring for me. I gotta do this for me. Them fans will still be there and they will still love Dame Lillard if he comes back and visits home. They will still be Dame Lillard fans. You know what a real fan would say about Dame Lillard if he went to somewhere else? Now, the one point that you make is good. Where does he go? I thought the 76ers situation could be a good one for Dame Lillard. Where does he go? That's a great question. But if he goes and he goes to get a championship, those fans should be cheering and rooting him on because you couldn't put it together. He takes them to the playoffs every year. They go all the time, and they lose. They lose all the time. If he decides before he loses all of that pop and bounce and vigor in his legs and in his body, if he decides he should want to go somewhere else to try to win, there should be no hate. There should be no saying his brand is ruined. There should be saying that his brilliance is gone. It should be Dame Lillard is taking his talents elsewhere in the attempt to try to win somewhere else. I wish I had thought that way because that dang sure took too long for me to come to that conclusion during the good years of my career, J-Mac.
Loyalty is so overrated in the NBA. It is comical. And I also think it's comical that Rick is like, Dame needs guarantees. Listen, my parents are watching the show right now. They love when I say this because they would say it to me all the time. There's no guarantees in life, Rick. Death and taxes, that's it.
Right.
That's it. There's no guarantee that Dame's going to win a championship when he goes to Philly or Boston or wherever.
Correct.
But, and this is the big but, hard choices, easy life. The hard choice for Dame Lillard is to leave. That's the hard choice, to leave, to say, I got to leave. And like you said, the fans are going to hate him. They're going to go against him. They're going to burn his jersey. We're going to see that crap on social media. That's the hard choice. But Dame Lillard doesn't want to be here 10 years from now, sitting on a TV set with us, chopping it up. Man, I wish I had taken that chance and left. I'll never know if I could have won a championship because we know they're not doing it in Portland. Speaking of loyalty, Rick, what loyalty did Portland show when Dame said, let's get it together? What are we doing in free agency? They went out and got him Tony Snell. That's it. Seriously, Rick, stop. Tony Snell, like the 8th guy in Milwaukee or whatever he played last year. Atlanta, I don't even know. It doesn't matter. He's irrelevant. That's what you got to get Portland over the top? I mean, this has James Harden vibes written all over it. Remember last year, Harden was like, shucks, man, Russ is gone, coach is gone, GM is gone. What the hell am I doing here? That Will Smith meme where you're looking around the family room and everything's gone. Like, I can see Dame in the first 2 weeks being like, yo, I don't want to battle for the play-in. Get me the hell out of here. Then it gets ugly. The smart move, the hard move, Rick, is to ask out now and just move on.
Come on,
Cut
great
ties.
deflector.
Loyalty don't exist in sports, especially not the NBA.
Here it comes.
See, J-Mac, what you're forgetting is that you and I have done a show before, and we've spoken on the radio,
Yeah.
and I believe we've even done this show together before. And I'm not mistaken. There was one Giannis Antetokounmpo, and whether he should stay in Milwaukee or he should go someplace else. And you were of the mind that he needed to go someplace else. It was crazy that he would stay in Milwaukee. He's never going to get it done there. It just can't happen for him. Look at what they have and what they don't have. And lo and behold, it happened. And what did Giannis say? Oh, I did it the hard way. I stayed.
I don't know about that.
And made it happen.
Wait a second.
So
you're comparing Drew Holiday to Tony Snell? Are you out of your mind?
Is not the hard way.
Drew Holiday is the deal.
Staying
Portland's
in
like the
Portland
7th seed
is the
in the West.
hard way.
Milwaukee's
That's
at
the
1.
way a dude from Oakland ultimately does it. So, no. And yes, there are no guarantees, but there are, well, and I disagree with that. There's a guarantee that if he leaves Portland, that he loses the brand loyalty, that the image of him could have gone, his AAU team, the Oakland Rebels, they were the lesser AAU team in Oakland. He could have gone to the Oakland Soldiers, the big team, the team that LeBron played for, and any number of superstars. No, he stayed with the Oakland Rebels. Weber State was the first school to come after him. Now, he blew up his senior year, and there were other bigger programs that came after him after that. He said, no, you know what? I'm staying with Weber State. Stayed there all 4 years. Could have transferred.
So ain't nobody going to judge him now then. He's been loyal.
Then he is.
Ain't nobody going to judge him now then.
This is the thing, LeVar. Both of you, we've had this we had this with the whole Kyle Shanahan argument. You guys are telling me how it should be. How Kyle Shanahan should appreciate Jimmy G. And how the fans in Portland should appreciate Damian Lillard for what he's done.
Yeah. Get out,
right?
Dame.
You're telling me how it should be.
Dame.
And I'm telling you how it is. Like, those fans are not going to say, hey, you know what, Dame? Appreciate the help. Thank you for sticking around as long as you did. And now you're going to go to Philly to play with Joel Embiid, and you think you're going to win with Joel Embiid?
So, Rick, is that where Dame Lillard finds his happiness in the fans of Portland? Because that's a problem if that's where Dame Lillard finds all his happiness in fans in Portland. Like, fans are nice. I get it. You got to find happiness within. And if Damian Lillard's happy losing in the first round, as he's done 4 of the last 5 years, by the way, nothing less than
happy with that.
A total false
He's a competitor.
But I'll let it go because LeVar laughed at you. Listen, I'll just say this. You got to find happiness with whatever makes you feel best. And Damian Lillard does not want to lose in the first round. I don't know anybody that does, okay? If Dame Lillard wants to win, he's got to go elsewhere and team up with a star. No disrespect to McCollum and the rest of that roster. They're a play-in team in the West, okay? They're in the Memphis category. Rick, you cannot imagine Portland making a run to the NBA Finals. There's like 0 chance that happens, correct?
Not as of right now, no. But here's the thing. The Portland Trail Blazers have one of the highest payrolls in the league. It's not for want of trying. It's not the Minnesota Timberwolves and Kevin Garnett. They had no money, and they were never changing up that team.
That makes it worse.
The Portland Trail Blazers continue. What?
That makes it worse. You said it's the highest payroll? They're trying to win in Portland?
Yes. Yeah.
Then leave, Dave.
They're trying.
Leave. They paid all the good money, and they still
can't get it. I didn't want to have to do this. I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm going to do this.
Do it.
One of the reasons why the Portland Trail Blazers have not competed for a championship
it's coaching.
Is because of Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard isn't Kevin Garnett. Damian Lillard is not a two-way player. He is a great closer. He is, many people consider him on the level of Steph Curry as far as a closer, as a shooter, as a leader, as an offensive weapon.
So he's being overvalued.
Much like Steph
Stay
Curry,
there because you're being overvalued.
He needs to have the right pieces around him in order to win a ring. And So part of the equation is that Damian Lillard is not LeBron James. He's not Kawhi Leonard.
He's not as good.
He's not one of those guys.
Stop comparing him to those guys.
So part of the responsibility is on Damian Lillard. And he found that out on Team USA this past summer, playing with Kevin Durant and all those stars. And what happened? Drew Holiday and Kevin Durant and those guys became the guys that carried them there because Damian Lillard, because of his size, couldn't be the guy.
The point
That's part of the
even
equation.
better. You ain't good enough to win a championship by yourself, Dame. Get out. Go find a bigger star.
But he's
one or two.
But he's seen as a guy who could. So you want to get rid of that perception that he's on Steph Curry's level.
Man,
you want me to say, you know what? Everybody being with the Blazers as the face of the franchise, as the leader, as the guy who's every bit as good as Steph Curry, and if you put me with that team, I'd be winning championships too, which I actually believe is true. He has that image. Now, instead, you want him to go to Philadelphia, where now he's not the face of the franchise, or at best he splits it with Joel Embiid.
Somebody turn the music on.
He splits the endorsements with Joel Embiid, and he still doesn't win a championship. Now, what do you have?
What? Take us to break, huh?
We're going to have to run this back tomorrow. Coming up, there's good news with Dak Prescott. We'll tell you if his Cowboys are clearly the best team in the NFC least. Next.
Well, that dance was clearly not a great dance.
Rick, that was good. He went in.
I wasn't in.
Cowboys
fans, they have a big reason to smile. Why? Because Dak Prescott participated in team drills Wednesday for the first time since late July. All signs are pointing towards Dak being ready to go for Dallas's season opener against them Bucks. Take a listen to the Cowboys on their QB's progress.
Dak looks really good, man. He's throwing the ball with some pop. He looks good. Looks like he's progressing good.
He's a cage lion. I mean, he's a competitor. It's just really not the same answer for David. I mean, he brings that competitiveness and and expertise to not only the quarterback position, but he makes the whole practice better because the way he approaches it. He's definitely one of the examples you use for the young players.
We definitely had to bring in my man, Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings. So, Greg, are they clearly, them boys, the best team in the NFC East?
No, it's the Washington football team. No, it's not the Dallas Cowboys. It's the Washington football team. I know this is what happens when Hard Knocks is at your door and we see all the players and Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott and Micah Parsons and like all these guys. I love Micah Parsons, though. Oh, no, I know why.
He's real.
I know why.
That's
Penn State Lions, real Lions. But anyway, you grow an affinity for these guys. You want them to succeed. But we've wanted the Dallas Cowboys to be successful, not only in the media, but as fans and because it's great for football, and they just haven't delivered. Meanwhile, you have a Washington football team who has been just slowly but surely putting pieces together, built from the inside out on the defensive line. They built their team very similar and constructed their defensive line very similar to the 49ers. Understanding we're going to establish the anchor up front. We're going to get after the quarterback. We're going to be solid on defense. So no matter what you present, which the Dallas Cowboys present a lot of problems offensively, we feel like we have the answer to that riddle by getting to the quarterback. I like the Washington football team because of how they're constructed. They have great leadership from the head coach on down. Yes, one might say, well, they got Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback and the cast of really backup quarterbacks. But this is a team that didn't have their guy at the quarterback position all season last year. And what did they do? They ended up in the playoffs in the wild card game against the Super Bowl champs. So I like the Washington football team.
Wow, I'm stunned. Greg, Vegas, they know a little bit about gambling, and they are saying Dallas is clearly the favorites in the NFC East. They have the highest win total. Everybody knows they have the best quarterback in the division. I'm not even a huge Dak Prescott guy, but it's like Dak Prescott and then, pick your poison. If Ryan Fitzpatrick's the second best quarterback in the division, a little bit of a problem there. I just want to point out, Washington got a little fortunate last year, faced a lot of backup quarterbacks. Yes, the defense is good. This year, before Halloween, Greg Jennings, Washington will have to face Justin Herbert And the three favorites to win the MVP, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and the other one is Aaron Rodgers. That's all before Halloween. And then after Halloween, still got Russell Wilson, Tom Brady. Washington has a murderer's row of quarterbacks to face. And Washington, by the way, Ryan Fitzpatrick always turns into a pumpkin the year after he plays well. Dallas is clearly the class of the division. And if you said, Jason, we demand you pick someone else, I would take the New York Giants. I think Washington's probably third in the division. Dallas clearly a cut above. They're a 10-11 win team.
That is so disrespectful.
I don't know that I could go quite that far on the Washington football team.
So
and
disrespectful.
The only issue that I have with this question is the clearly. Are they clearly the best team in the division? But I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, they are, because on paper they are. And Greg, I appreciate your point that the Washington football team is building itself in a very less sexy way. They're building it from the inside, from the line play. And to me, that is critical to having long-term success. And that is one of the issues on both sides of the ball right now that we still have with the Dallas Cowboys. How good are they going to be on the line? However, looking at everything that they have the best quarterback in the division. They have, at skill positions, they have the best player at every skill position, and they have depth there offensively. And I've loved what I've seen from Micah Parsons and Kelvin Joseph, and I have to believe that the addition of Dan Quinn is going to upgrade that defense, or at least I'm going to give them the chance. So when I look at it, it is a debate for me. J-Mac, I don't know what you're talking about, them Washington football team being third in the division. This is a debate between the WFT and the Dallas Cowboys. But if you're asking me, at least at this point in the season, who has the better team? The Dallas Cowboys, player by player, roster-wise, without question, has the better team.
That's a wonderful point. But, you know, the two football players are giving their analytics and critique of this, and it is the Washington football team.
You're going to play the player card on this.
I'm going to put the player card down on the table on this one. And know this, Dallas has, in recent years, always had the better team, personnel-wise, player for player. Who's a rookie on this team other than Micah Parsons? Okay, that's going to be the guy? Who's a rookie? So all these guys have been there. Did they win the NFC Championship? Did they win the NFC East last year? Hey, G and J, did Dallas win it last year? With this tremendous player for player team that they had personnel-wise?
Gucci DiNucci.
Do you know who won it last year? The Washington football team. Now, here's what I'll say. I made this point and this discussion in another segment of the show where we talked about the Seahawks and why I believe they cannot be a contender, a true contender. It's based off of the rankings and the ratings, right? And I said if you are going to be a contender, you have got to have high ratings. If one is lacking, the other must pick up the slack. Therefore, if you have two sides of the ball that are in top 5, top 10 rankings, you're a contender for the Super Bowl. If you have one side of the ball that is in top 10 rankings and the others aren't, they're really, really bad, then you can compete, but you got to see some things have got to balance out. The Washington football team, I was at Washington. Their total offense, all the way down the board, their offense stank. It stank. It's some stank, some trash. 30, 31, 25th, 25, 26, 23rd. Only thing that they ranked high in was giveaways. All right? So that means, okay, they had better be something tremendously special if you're going to be a competitive team on defense. Total defense, second. That means only one team was better than them. Net yards allowed, second. That does not bode well for a Dallas team that is player for player, better personnel-wise. Scoring D, fourth. Pass D, second. So takeaways, 7th. Sacks, 6th. Let me tell you something. If they fix their offense and get to halfway of what they've ranked last year, halfway, they're not only a contender to win it in the NFC East, they are actually a contender in the playoffs. Oh. When you bring a defense, you bring an opportunity and a chance to win. So to me, you cannot say Dallas is clearly the favorite to win the NFC East. Not when you got a defense that's playing like that. You know what that says to me? You got dudes that are all mammal. I call all mammals because they willing to go down on all fours. They howl when the moon is full. They hunt, they bite, they bark. They take body parts, they eat them, they chew on them, they spit them out. That's the type of defense that you have in Washington. Probably one of the more special defenses that you'll see play. That's not a hype machine because I played for them, because people know my history is very well documented. I don't hype this team. I just call it the way I see it. This is a special group that they have on defense. No way you can sit there and consider any other team in that division a runaway clear favorite. And one last point. Dak Prescott hasn't even played. We don't even know what Dak Prescott's health really is right now. And Dak Prescott, if he cannot do it, who else is? So until you know what Dak Prescott is going to be health-wise for this team, that's another reason to sit there and say you are not clearly the favorites to win the NFC East.
You make a lot of great points there, but where I want to support you most is defensively. And as an offensive player, like you can have, I've been on some explosive offenses in Green Bay. We had a plethora of receivers around both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. But when we played against a team that had a pass rush, early in Aaron's career, we played the Vikings. They had a tremendous pass rush. What did that eliminate? It eliminated all of the weapons that we were affording our quarterback because we couldn't get the ball out. We couldn't protect. And so when I look at the Washington football team, how do you eliminate what the Dallas Cowboys are so great at? You get after the quarterback. And to the point that you just made, LeVar, we don't know how Dak Prescott is going to be from a mobility standpoint outside of the pocket. Yes, has he improved as a thrower? Yes, I love everything about Dak Prescott. But coming off of injury, is he going to be told, let's try to stay in the pocket. Let's try not to do this. Let's try not to run. Let's get rid of the ball. All these different things he's going to be thinking about. Meanwhile, you got those mammals he's talking about, LeVar, and coming after him with no thought, just go get the quarterback. That is a complete eraser when you see all the weapons, and I mean all the weapons that the Dallas Cowboys have.
I'll tell you what.
You are correct. We do not know exactly what we are going to get from Dak Prescott. But I do know what we are going to get from Ryan Fitzpatrick. 16 seasons in the league, has never led a team to the playoffs. Ever. So you're telling me that's your quarterback, and that's going to get you there with a defense that was outstanding and yet still only produced a losing record. I'm not buying it.
QB1, baby.
A playoff berth and a divisional title while the Dallas Cowboys were sitting at home. Coming up, all eyes are on Trevor Lawrence. Let's see where he's going to end up going. But Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence are, well, we're going to have to wait and see who's going to have the better of the years. So which one will have the better rookie season? We're going to discuss that next on Speak for Yourself.
Let's get to the top two picks in the NFL draft, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. CBS Sports gave grades for the first-round QBs through the first two preseason games, and Wilson led the pack with an A-, while Lawrence had the worst grade with a C+. Greg Jennings is back with us, but J-Mac, I'm going to ask you first, who is going to have the better rookie season between the two rookie QBs?
Yeah, as the resident Jets fan, I guess, in America, the only one, I'm supposed to say Zach Wilson. That's my guy, a.k.a. the Mormon Mahomes. That being said, it's got to be Trevor Lawrence, okay? He's got the body of work from Clemson. We know what we're getting in Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be dominant in Jacksonville. He has not been in the preseason dominant. Urban Meyer, who hasn't coached a game on the sidelines in several years, dating back to when he left Ohio State, I don't think they're showing anything in the preseason. They got to make sure the offensive line is good, and now ETN's gone. Things are a work in progress for Jacksonville. I'm still a believer in that team. I think they'll make the playoffs and win the division. That's bold, and Greg Jennings is going to kill me for it. But I am optimistic long-term about Zach Wilson. This kid, seriously, I know he's slinging it against the Green Bay backups, and that's not all that impressive. But what you can see with him and just the making plays out of nothing, the easy, quick twitch arm, this kid is special. I know guys love talking up Trey Lance, Rick Bucher, but Zach Wilson is a money quarterback. He's going to be very good in this league. But this year, it'll be Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, nah. As much as I'm a believer, a full, big-time, 100% believer in Trevor Lawrence and his abilities, but this is all about the supporting cast and what you have around you. And I'm not just talking about the players. I'm talking about from head coach to offensive coordinator. Put an asterisk on that because that's the most important one. Let's start right there. When you look at the Jets and you look at what Zach Wilson has been able to do, it's because of what they've supported him with. Mike LaFleur is going to put him in excellent situations. And let's be honest, I trust Mike LaFleur a lot better than I trust Darrell Bevell. I get it. Trevor Lawrence, I believe he's a transcendent talent. But when you have a coordinator that is not on the same page, that, yes, can he put him in great situations? I'm sure he can. Will he? I'm uncertain of that. When I look at the Jets and Zach Wilson, they may not have a great season as a team, but Zach Wilson will mature. He will blossom because of what they are doing around him. Elijah Moore, a name that was being talked about all camp, a guy that he can get the ball out to, get it in his hands. Tevin Coleman at running back, he's coming back with a vengeance. He's accustomed to what Robert Saleh was doing defensively and with the 49ers. Like, there are a lot of pieces that I think we don't really equate to the success of these quarterbacks that matter most. The running back, how quickly you can get that ball out of your hands. I couldn't care less about the offensive lines because for all it's worth, both offensive lines are poor, but it's going to be about who's going to get that ball out of their hands. And I believe Zach Wilson is going to be more prone to than Trevor Lawrence because he is the bigger, the more tout guy, the guy that's going to hold on to it a little bit longer, trying to force that ball where it needs to go.
He just hasn't looked comfortable to me. Like, I could see if he didn't have a good preseason because they're not showing anything. Like, that's one thing. But I was saying this to you the other day, I believe, G, is he just looks like he's moving slow. Like, he doesn't look as quick. His releases doesn't look as quick. His reads don't look as quick. His movement doesn't look as quick. And you know what? It's equating to him getting hit, him getting put under pressure. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a fine career. I really do believe so. I believe that Urban Meyer is going to have a fine career. But I don't know that it's going to happen immediately. One thing you got to understand, sometimes winners have to take losses before they can get wins. That's what most winners are. They lose a lot of times more than they win, but they figure out how to win in those losses. I think that that's Jacksonville. So when I look at Trevor Lawrence, he's going to struggle. When I look at Urban Meyer, which is the more important aspect of this, Urban Meyer is going to struggle. If you think that Urban Meyer, based off of his coaching pedigree, is just going to come in and dominate the National Football League right out the gate, I think you have way too high expectations for a work that's in progress. Keep in mind, as good as Urban Meyer is, he is taking over a team that will be a better team if they win 2 games. I'm going to let that sink in. They won 1 game last year. 1. So if you think, and listen, the Jets only won 2. The Jets only won 2 games last year. But I think that Coach Salah, I think that bringing in LaFleur, even though not the offensive coordinator, being part of that passing game, that passing attack in San Francisco, and what they've been able to create with this Mike Shanahan-style offense that has evolved and turned into the brainchild of Kyle Shanahan, they have a better opportunity of leveraging the weapons that they have and the style of play that this offense presents with Zach Wilson in New York than the style of play that we may see and the learning curve. That's going to be a much bigger learning curve for the coaches in Jacksonville this upcoming season. So we're only talking one season. I think that you look at Zach Wilson as being the guy that turns into has the best rookie season.
J-Mac, I think you're trying too hard to not let your New York Jets colors show because it is Zach Wilson who I would anticipate is going to have the better season because of everything we've seen to this point and everything we know about the composition of their teams. Trevor Lawrence does have the more pressure on him. I don't know who has overall the better team around him, but I know who has more pressure, and that's Trevor Lawrence as the #1 pick. And yet, when I look at how Zach Wilson has performed in New York, with that fan base, with that media, he has been the one that has demonstrated that he has more poise when he's playing. Trevor Lawrence has not. He had, to LeVar's point, he's looked like he's struggled. He looks slow because he's thinking a lot. And the reason he's thinking a lot, I would attribute to what he's being asked to do. And that's the distinction. Mike LaFleur, I'm glad you brought this up, Greg. Mike LaFleur had one of the most mixed quarterback bags that you could possibly have last year with the 49ers. And yet, he had all of those guys performing. When you look at their passer rating or their QBR, I'm not going to look at the results. That whole team was dinged up. But he had those quarterbacks performing, and he's very much in the same way have to provide a simplified approach in order not to allow Zach Wilson to get overwhelmed and have to think, which is then going to slow him down. So when I look at the fact that you have Robert Saleh, who is, yes, a first-year head coach, but he's been in the NFL for 18 years. And while I think Urban Meyer is one of the best college coaches we've ever seen, this is his first year in the NFL. And as you guys well know, college and NFL, it's different. You need to approach it in a different way. You can be a great coach, but it can be a learning curve when you switch from college to the pros. Just getting to know the personnel and how the game operates takes some time. So I look at whose hands Zach Wilson is in and how he has played to this point. And if I'm reading tea leaves here, and that's what we're doing, Zach Wilson looks like the guy who has the far better chance of having a good rookie season. It doesn't mean that Trevor Lawrence can't eventually plays in the NFL.
I can't believe this coming out. Joe Burrow is going to see game action for the first time in a long time. We'll tell you if the Bengals should play him in the preseason. Next. Joe Burrow has not played in an NFL game since last November, but he's going to start the Bengals preseason game Sunday. Burrow is coming back from a season-ending knee injury, but said it's important to, quote, be as close as you can to having a game-like feel. I'm going to go to the Bengals fans first. Rick Bucher, the lone Bengals fan, I think, on the West Coast. Should the Bengals play Joe Burrow in their final preseason game?
Yes, they absolutely should. You know why? Because Joe Burrow wants to play in the final preseason game, and his head coach wants him to play in the final preseason game. And it has been going back all the way to the early part of last season in which he took a live snap. And yes, he has an injury to come back from, but for the same reason that if Dak Prescott hadn't had the strained shoulder, I would say he should be getting some snaps just to get comfortable. You see Patrick Mahomes doing it. He came off of surgery. Joe Burrow needs this to feel good about where he is and to understand what it's going to take. So without question, Joe Burrow should be playing.
So Burrow shreds his ACL and MCL last November, and he's trying to come back. Remember, last year, Rick, he was sacked 32 times, most in the league. I think the Eagles actually murdered him in the pocket, like killed him. I think it was like 8 or 9 times. And they didn't really improve the offensive line in the offseason. And you want him to go out there against Miami? Like, Tua's not even playing for the Dolphins. I don't see the upside here. I know this whole, like, let's get him some live action. It's August. I don't know. LeVar, you played a lot of preseason. Didn't you want to kill the opposing quarterback? I just don't see the upside here. I don't see it.
I think you do play him just to get him the emotional experience, right? Hand the ball off 2-3 times, get off of the field. This is not for him to get an emotional I threw the ball well. I drove us down the field. Get 3 handoffs, kick the ball, punt the ball, play defense. But it's running out on the field. It's feeling the energy of the fans, getting back into the groove of coming out for a game. You're not going to prove anything with those short deals. So you're not going to get anything done. Get him back on the field for an emotional deal. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Can't you just have him do that and not actually play? No. Hey, we're going to go through all like normal, but no, you're not playing.
Get the huddle, break the huddle, come out, hand the ball off, run back, hand the ball off again, get off the field. Throw a flare pass, something short, get off the field. Yep. Emotional. Yep. This is for the emotional aspect of it.
I can get with that. Okay. Coming up, LeBron wants the NBA to have all access, like Hard Knocks for the NFL. We'll tell you which team would be must-see next on Speak for Yourself.
That's a no-brainer. All eyes are on the Cowboys for this year's edition of Hard Knocks. The all-access show is an NFL thing, but LeBron James wants to see it in the NBA as well. The King tweeted, "Man, watching Hard Knocks, incredible show, man. Every time I watch it, I wish we had that as well. Just for training camp and preseason too. So fire." So, Jason, which NBA team would be must-see on Hard Knocks?
That would be Brooklyn Nets.
That would be.
I don't know if there's an adult in the room now that Jeff Green's gone. I don't know, like, is Kyrie Irving showing up? What is his process for the burning of sage? Is James Harden coming in? Like, maybe after a long night at some of the clubs in Brooklyn. Like, I think this would be awesome. Kevin Durant, obviously, F-bomb laden show. Like, I'm just all in on the Brooklyn Nets. They are going to be so fun this year. Brooklyn Nets 1. I think Lakers probably 2.
I am with you on the characters on the Brooklyn Nets and the search for Kyrie Irving and his search for Kyrie Irving. And even if he's not on the show and he's nowhere to be seen, simply interviewing his teammates about Kyrie Irving, to me, would ultimately be fascinating. And getting those glimpses of Steve Nash figuring out, what do I do with James? Where's James? What's Kyrie doing? What did KD say? That in itself would be gold. I do have the inclination to say, give me a team like the San Antonio Spurs or the Miami Heat, or teams that we've never pulled the curtain on, that are so secretive, that I'd like to see behind the curtain on those. But the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving are just too delicious for me to pass that up.
I think that would be boring to go to one of those secretive organizations. Come to L.A., watch the L.A. Lakers. They got a great cast of entertaining dudes. I mean, just remembering the story of when LeBron saved Carmelo, and Melo loves telling the story of when he saved his life in the water from him drowning. I just think the stories and the interaction, Russ, come on, he's from here. I just think there's way too many storylines in the biggest media market in the world. Yeah, I think. L.A., the Lakers. It's got to be the Lakers. Anyways.
Yeah. Shots of all of them in the ice tub.
Shots out to the Lakers. All right, Bill Belichick and rock legend Bon Jovi hung out yesterday. That seems cool. We have a lot to say about that and other celebrity sightings next on Speak for Yourself.
The Patriots had a famous visitor at practice yesterday. A picture of Bill Belichick with rock star John Bon Jovi went viral. And it got us to thinking about our own celebrity sightings. So, LeVar, other than looking in the mirror, what is your favorite all-time celebrity sighting?
Hey, I got to say celebrity encounter was when I went to the White House. Check this out. That's right. That's Barack Obama, baby. Wow. I don't get into politics like that, but that is certainly the most famous person to me that I've had the opportunity and the pleasure of meeting.
I cannot say that I've met a president or a former president, but I used to work at a magazine, and I once interviewed, a famous actress named Jessica Alba.
Look at J-Man.
LeVar's very excited. Yes, that was chubby young Jason probably 15, 20 years ago. Okay, let's move on. Rick Bucher, you're up.
They're like, who is
why do we
this
have to go with LeVar first? Nobody's beating that. I'm going to go with Sylvester Stallone, Rocky. Saw him at a Lakers game, and my first thought was, wow, that's Sly. And then the second thing it was, he's really small. Like, he's tiny. That's Rocky? Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'm going with that.
All right, folks, that's it for us. We will see you tomorrow. A lot more fun debates. Spirited. Rick, you get us out of here with Sylvester Stallone, a little Rocky action. We're out.